Welcome back to the extravaganza, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fine show slapped here together for you tonight. A little bit later, actress Swoosie Kurtz, the star of Love, Sydney, one of the stars, co-star of Love, Sydney, will be joining us. We're going to take a look at some more new international symbols. And my first guest right here, of all of the characters involved in the Watergate scandal, there were none as fascinating as my next guest. He has served 4.5 years in prison for his involvement and recounted his philosophy of life and personal story in the book entitled Will, which was also a television movie. Please welcome G. Gordon Liddy. Thank you for being on the show. In the past couple of months, I've been reading things about you traveling and appearing at colleges with Timothy Leary.
Yes, Tim and I have debated, I think, 8 times so far. Matter of fact, we did it on Broadway here not long ago in Manhattan.
This is a musical? No, it's...
Well, I'd say sometimes I expect it to be anything. When you're debating with Tim, anything can happen, and I mean anything.
Well, the reason I said that, I was just being silly, of course, but it sounds like a very odd combination, you and Timothy Leary. What is the history of this relationship?
Well, the relationship began when I busted him twice, back in the 1960s. And then he went his way, which included Afghanistan and everything else, and I went mine, which included 9 different federal prisons. And we both did a lot of lecturing separately. And a fellow down in Texas said, you know, it's a natural to bring these two fellows whose philosophies are 180 degrees opposed.
Yeah. Now, what do you discuss or debate when you're on stage?
The powers of the state, which I represent, and individual freedom, which Tim represents. There's always been a tension between those, and we really chew it up.
Are you two friendly now?
I would say so, yeah. I still think he's dead wrong, but Tim is a... got a great Irish wit. He's nice to be around.
Yeah. Would you ever consider using some of the preparations that he...
I'm not even sure what some of those preparations are anymore. He denies that he uses controlled dangerous substances, asserting that he can never be arrested for it because he uses stuff that is so new the government hasn't caught on to it yet.
Is he... got something going pretty much all the time? I mean, is he, you know, is there somebody else driving most of the day with Tim?
Well, you know, Tim isn't all that unusual anymore. You go out there and confer with NBC executives and you feel terribly out of place. I mean, I keep thinking that a soda straw is something you sip your soda with, and the NBC executives keep wanting to stick it up my nose all the time, but it's just...
Is that true? Have you had that experience, actually?
I've had it offered to me, yeah.
Really? NBC executives have offered you... we're talking about cocaine here, I guess, huh?
You mean the Colombian nose candy?
Yeah.
No, they haven't offered it to me, but the way I understand it is the question is, do we have enough of this stuff around to handle all the problems that we have to deal with this afternoon?
That's a whole different topic area.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That when you guys are out lecturing or performing, what are the what kind of questions? What are some of the most common questions that are directed to the two?
Well, they always ask Tim, you know, what is this latest stuff that the government hasn't caught on to? They're liable to ask me anything from questions about Watergate to, I remember one young lady got up and asked me my opinion of group sex, which took me aback a little bit, you know. I asked her how big a group she had in mind.
Do you... I was thinking there about what are these new substances that Mr. Leary is?
Mr. Leary is keeping that very close to his vest, because once it becomes known, the government puts it on the list, and then he has to go find another one.
Now, I would think that some of the questions you get would be the rat story, and then also about burning your hand with a candle.
Yes,
or
we
some
get
other
lots of mileage out of it.
All right, I tell you what, we're going to pause here for a commercial, and we'll come back and take up those two topics with Mr. Gordon Liddy right after this. Hi there. Welcome back to the show. G. Gordon Liddy is with us, and we're talking about, among other things, you're touring with Timothy Leary, and I brought up the two stories about, one, a rat, and the other about burning yourself. Do you want to talk about these?
I think everybody knows about them by now, but if you'd want me to, I'd be happy to. What do you want to know about them?
They're such great stories. First of all, let's start with the rat.
You want to start with the rat?
Yeah, well, you start with the rat.
Well, I was afraid of a lot of things when I was a child. Just about everything, with the possible exception of my mother, and I wasn't too sure about her, you know. And one of the things was rats. And I had learned through my reading that American Indians used to devour parts of the bodies of brave warriors in an attempt to overcome their fear of other tribes and things like that. So when my sister's cat slew a rat, I cooked it, and I ate the left rear haunch of it, and there went the fear of rats. That was when I was 11 years old. With respect to burning, that was because I was afraid of pain and fire, because when I was a child, I picked up a hot coal. And so I did some of that to overcome the fear of fire and pain. Nothing unusual about that. I've been told that that is a process known to psychologists as desensitization.
Yeah. But these are dramatic examples of that philosophy.
Well, this is a dramatic show, is it not?
Oh, you bet. But now, a lot of people, say I was talking to you or a member of your family about Paul Schaefer, and I said, this guy will put his hand in a flame or he'll eat rats. That person, talking about Paul, hypothetically here, would be described by many as being nuts. Now, do people consider you to be, you know, maybe of having stepped off the curb?
It depends, you know, on the circumstances. My roommate in France, his father was put in a Nazi concentration camp, and he had to flee the Germans, and he lived on rat meat for 1.5 years. That's how he kept alive. It depends on why you do it. I suppose if your friend over here did it for a hobby, you might think it was odd of him.
Yeah.
But if you do it for some feeling of necessity, I don't think it's that odd.
But in your case, it really wasn't for necessity. It was more
it was
of
for necessity, because, you see, I didn't want to be afraid of rats any more than I'd want to be afraid of you.
Yeah.
And, of course, I'm afraid of neither.
Yeah. What about, now I'm wondering now how you got along in prison, because were you frightened in prison?
No. I had the armament of my education when I was in prison. And prison, you know, is an odd place. The prisoners run the prisons. The guards don't run the prisons. And when I found myself in one prison, for example, with a problem with the persons who were running it, I just reverted to type and wiretapped them and used the evidence that I gathered to take them into court and defeat them. And then I got expelled from that prison. The reason I was in 9 different prisons in this country is because I kept getting expelled from one prison into another one.
Bad attitude, huh?
More than a little.
Yeah. Now, but you started out, I'm just guessing, I don't know the details here, you started out in what they call the minimum security operations?
I started out by direction of my good friend John Sirica in a maximum security prison, complete with electric chair.
Oh, so you were really in pretty deep water here to be making waves, weren't you?
Yes, and I created a few tidal waves. That's correct.
Did you have weapons inside prison?
Yes.
And how does a person get a weapon?
You can get anything you want inside a prison, anything, if you're willing to pay for it and have the assets to pay for it. The way I got weapons, well, some I bought, and some I stole, and some I had made for me by friends.
Good heavens! And we're like firearms, actual guns?
No, I had a steel bar with sharp edges with which I could break your legs. I had a pickaxe handle with a jagged hunk of rusty steel on the end of it with which I could make you very unhappy. And, of course, I had a knife. You always have a knife.
Yeah.
A shank, as it's called.
Shank. For you kids watching at home, it's a shank. We're going to pause. Excuse me, sir. We'll be back to continue this discussion with Mr. Liddy after... That's right. Thank you. Welcome back. We just have a minute in this segment, and then after the station identification, we'll continue at length. When you were in prison, what was the reaction of the other inmates to you?
Well, the reaction whenever you go into another prison is always the same. They don't know what they have to deal with, and they have to find out what kind of a person you are, so you will be tested. My advice to those of you out there who are contemplating entering prison is the minute you walk in, if someone says good morning, and there's a cloud in the sky which gives you an excuse, pick up a mop wringer handle, break his head, and then they know where you're coming from, so to speak.
That's the accepted response to good morning?
It had better be.
Yeah.
That's if you want to remain a member of the male sex.
Now, You're speaking, I mean, I have no reason to doubt you. You were in prison for, and you could have been in for longer, couldn't you?
21 and a half years.
Yeah. Oh, also you could have probably been in for shorter if you'd wanted to...
I could have been released virtually within 24 hours.
Now, why did you choose to take the...
Well, there were several reasons. First of all, I was the captain of the ship when she hit the reef. My responsibility was damage control, and so I sought to do that by my silence. Secondly, I was taught by my father that a man does not seek to extricate himself from difficulty at the expense of his friends and associates.
So your feeling was, I got myself into this, I'll take the punishment, it's all part of the game. All right. We're going to pause now for station identification. We'll be right back after this commercial message. God, it's frightening. Hi, I'm David Letterman, host of NBC's Late Night. During the commercial break, why don't you do like we do here in the studio and enjoy big, thick shakes and ice cream sodas? You'll be glad you did. Thank you. Gordon Liddy is here. Later, Swoosie Kurtz will be joining us. How has your family held up under the stress and trials of the Watergate and then the incarceration and now the book and the TV film and so forth?
Well, you know, there's an old saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that seemed to work with my family. I've got 2 swimming champions, 1 world-class water polo player, 1 captain of the swimming team. 1 pre-med student. They all do very, very well.
You're a very methodical person, I'm guessing, from what little you've told us here tonight, and also what I read about you this afternoon, and even into selecting your spouse-to-be.
Yes.
You did some genetic research on this woman?
Well, you know, when you look at a girl, if you can't tell whether she's got good genes or not, you really oughtn't to be in the husband business, you know.
If you can't tell she comes from good stock, then you get no...
Well, I mean, if the poor creature is a fugitive from the Board of Health and it's obvious, then I would suggest not marrying her. If, on the other hand, she's tall and smart and beautiful, then you got yourself a good candidate.
Yeah. How did she demonstrate her intelligence?
Well, I walked in one day, and she was amusing herself, I thought, doing a crossword puzzle. I amused myself doing the Times crossword puzzle, and I found that instead she was doing differential calculus for fun. Oh. This thoroughly intimidated me.
Yeah, that does sound like fun, though. You have to give her that.
You have to understand that at the time she was working for IBM, and she was designing computer languages, and she was only 25. She was the one that they sent to Indiana to wire the mainframe computers for the U.S. Army and to also teach the United States government how to run them. That was when she was 26.
This whole thing now, it's been 10 years almost to the month, to the week here of the Watergate break-in. Is there...
Well, actually, we had a successful one, which anniversary is never celebrated, that actually is a few days ago.
Oh, so this would be the...
That's the one I celebrated. You see, you celebrate the other one. I'll celebrate the other one.
So, is there... Now, the one that, June, what was the date?
17th of June, yeah.
Now, is there anything about this mess that you look back on and find amusing now?
Well, yeah, there were lots of things amusing. I remember it took us 3 times before we got in the first time successfully. And the second time that we unsuccessfully were in, Howard Hunt got trapped in a room, and the guards kept coming by swinging their flashlights, so being the old OSS and CIA guy that he is, he hid in a closet. The closet happened to be a liquor closet. He was in there for 8 hours, and things got urgent, and Howard found a bottle of red, which was only 1/3 full, and by the end of the evening... let me just put it this way. If you ever go to the Watergate Hotel, under no circumstances order scotch. Never.
Go good with rat, wouldn't it?
Oddly enough, after the book came out, the Washington Star made a survey of the top chefs of Washington, all the haute cuisine, and they said, Liddy, there's one thing about Liddy, is he does not know how properly to cook rat. And they gave their recipes and told what wine you should have with it and everything, and it's quite true. I really don't know.
This whole thing here. Now, when I introduced you, there was a smattering of some people booed a little bit, and I'm sure that this comes.
Well,
as no
look, John
surprise.
Sirica's children are everywhere. Some of them are undoubtedly out of nibs.
Well, but the
See, lots of them.
and this afternoon, I was reading a little thing about you that said in other times, under other circumstances, you might have, in fact, been regarded as the ultimate soldier and even a hero, which I'm guessing is probably how you would like to be remembered. But objectively, if you can be objective, how do you see you being remembered in history by this country?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to be that much remembered. I think that as distance lends proportion, the historians are going to view the Watergate incident with decreasing importance. It was really just sort of a footnote.
Mm-hmm. And so you don't see an eternal place for yourself in the grand scheme of things?
No, I think the place for me in the grand scheme of things is the same as your place and the place of everybody here, and that is we shall provide a diet for the worms.
Ooh. My, what a cheerful note to end this on, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? One day we'll all be dust. Got that? We're just going to go. Interesting experience meeting you. I appreciate your time, sir. Gordon Liddy, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to pause, but we'll be right back to take a look at the